On Friday, a federal jury convicted Tate Adamiak for selling unregistered machine guns.
Navy sailor Tate Adamiak could be heading to federal prison after federal agents found machine guns, grenade launchers, and missile launchers at his homes.
So imagine serving your country as a Navy veteran, only to be thrown in prison for 20 years for selling firearm parts that you can still purchase online today legally. That is the nightmare that Patrick, also known as Tate Adamiak, is currently living, and the ATF and Department of Justice are behind it. So stick around and learn how we are going to fight for his freedom as well as our Second Amendment rights. Let's get to it. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you did not already know, my name is Jay Costa, and today we're exposing the ATF and Department of Justice's outrageous attack on our Second Amendment rights through Tate's case. So first, let's go over who Tate is. Tate is a 31-year-old Navy veteran, and he's currently serving a 20-year sentence for owning non-functional firearm parts and replicas, a clear case of overreach on our Second Amendment rights, and even more so his. And if you're fed up with government targeting gun owners like yourself and Tate, especially here in the great state of New Jersey, as well as other blue states like it, hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you can stay up to date on our weekly videos. Now, let's go through the background of this case, Tate's case. Tate enlisted in the Navy when he was only 17 years old and eventually became an E6 Master at Arms with the Navy. He has a bachelor's degree and was working on a master's until his arrest. Now, Tate has always been into guns and started collecting military gear and guns until he had a pretty big collection. And by 2016, his personal collection was gaining steam to the point that he had the goal of eventually starting a military surplus museum, let's call it, with the parts that he had and the replicas that he had, and started buying and selling as kind of like a side hustle to his Navy career. He said in an interview with the Second Amendment Foundation, "I started focusing on that. I got an LLC, a business license, and a tax number. I started selling on GunBroker. I became one of the top 500 sellers of niche gun parts. I'd buy in bulk and sell off a couple items. That's how my business started, and it really took off." That is when the ATF, though, decided to derail his career and his life. Because on May 7th, 2024, agents raided his home in Michigan, charging him with felony possession of unregistered machine guns and a destructive device. More than 40 federal agents raided Tate's home, as well as a rental property that he owns. ATF, FBI, bomb squad, you name it, all in order to make a scene. Tate said in that interview, quote, "They turned my house upside down, but did not find a single functional machine gun or destructive device." The agents seized about 35 replica firearms and parts from Tate's personal collection and labeled the evidence, quote, "suspected machine guns and destructive devices." The evidence? Well, the main piece of evidence at Tate's conviction is a World War II era PPSH 41 barrel shroud in which the ATF asserted was a machine gun receiver. For this part to qualify as a receiver under federal law, the Code of Federal Regulation demands that the part must be a single housing that serves 4 separate functions. It must, number 1, house a hammer, which it clearly here does not. Number 2, it must house the bolt or breech lock, which once again, very clearly, it does not. Number 3, it must house the firing mechanism, which of course it does not. And number 4, it has to receive a barrel, which this does. Now, it is indisputable that the part Tate possessed does not satisfy these 4 requirements and should never have been considered a quote-unquote machine gun receiver by the ATF or the Department of Justice. In addition to not qualifying as a firearm under federal law, it was also cut in half. The thing was cut in half, and they're still trying to say that this is a machine gun and put him in prison for 20 years. This further removes it from even being a serviceable gun part, obviously. Now, according to Mr. Guns and Gear, who's made a couple videos on Tate's case in the past, 1 cut used to be the standard practice for removing it from being a serviceable gun part legally, but now they apparently require 3. This may obviously have been the main reason why Tate is now sitting behind bars. Next, the ATF argued that Tate had an RPG-7 grenade launcher. Scary stuff, right? Now, what this really was a demilitarized Soviet-era RPG-7 grenade launcher relic. I'll put a picture of it up here. It's commonly sold as surplus for display and collectability purposes. So this demilitarized RPG-7 at issue was undisputedly non-functional while in Tate's possession. It was only possessed with 100% rubber inert display rockets. So no live explosives here at all. It was openly displayed in Tate's home office for nearly a decade before his arrest, and was missing all of the critical fire control components that a normal RPG has. It also, in addition, had a hole drilled or bored into the high pressure chamber area of the tube, which is recognized that if attempted to shoot, it would remove the user's head. And lastly, it was conspicuously engraved inert, I-N-E-R-T, and labeled a training aid dummy. Yet Tate is still sitting in prison for the possession of that piece. Now, the ATF claimed that Tate's RPG-7 was a live weapon, but court documents revealed it as a decorative replica incapable of firing. So how did they make this RPG relic fire? Well, the ATF took it, added 5 additional components that Tate did not possess, including a complete live fire control mechanism taken from one of their own operational RPGs. After reconstructing the device with these 5 pieces that the ATF had, the ATF demonstrated its firing capability by installing a 7.62 training simulator device, which is a standalone bolt-action rifle that operates independently from the grenade launcher.
Roll it.
Now, the ATF also claimed that welding the holes in the high-pressure chamber would restore the device to a functional state. Well, I mean, if you're welding stuff, you can pretty much do whatever you want. So you and I are probably getting pretty close to felony status, according to the ATF. Now, what makes things even worse than we already have talked about is that the ATF was working with a confidential informant, or a CI as they call it. This guy brought Tate's freedom to an end and was cooperating with the ATF to work off charges of his own. Tate said, quote, he used to own a machine gun shop. The ATF raided his house and found a gun and charged him with felony in possession. He kept asking me for a machine gun, which I never got him. I got him a shroud off of Gunbroker. The ATF paid him around $8,000 for my case alone. That is unbelievable to me, that the ATF was working with an informant that they were already charged in the past who was trying to work off a case against him. Unfathomable. Tate also says, to be clear, quote, I never sold a single item that qualifies as a firearm or requires an FFL, only non-regulated gun parts. Now, while dropping off gear at Tate's home, the confidential informant saw the replica grenade launcher. He asked Tate if he had an SOT, which is a Class 3 FFL. No, they're replicas, Tate said. That was the end of the conversation, according to Tate. We finished trading and bartering, and he left. That's what Tate said in that interview. From this point forward, Tate said he became the target of a, quote, fishing expedition by the ATF. Basically, them trying to make an example out of him, which we have seen before in the past. Tate said that I was repeatedly asked by various people if I had machine guns for sale. My answer never changed, no. They attempted over and over again to have me source or put together a machine gun for them, but as a law-abiding citizen, I refused. I even cited NFA rules on several occasions in writing. I wouldn't even bend a MAC-10 flat for them, which they asked me to do many times. Can anyone say entrapment? This is ridiculous. Tate did agree to broker the purchase of a PPSH-41 barrel shroud for a client. The part does not qualify as a firearm. Tate said, quote, it was literally purchased in open commerce with a business check from a confirmed FFL as an unregulated part directly off of Gunbroker. Evidently, the ATF must have realized this was the closest thing they can get from me to a firearm. But what they really wanted was to get in my house and see what else they could find, and to see the Mark 19 and the M240 replicas that their informant was boasting about. Now, the toll, as you can imagine, on Tate and his family is totally gut-wrenching. He lost his firearms business, his home, and his naval career, which he was able to be discharged honorably, may I add. His mother, Kristen, is separated from her son now, who's 31 years old, and caged for a nonviolent crime, and I would say made-up crime. The ATF and the media smeared him as a dangerous threat to society, selling illegal grenade launchers and machine guns, despite no evidence, as well as, of course, no intent to harm. The scariest part is that Tate is just like you, and he's just like me. Tate said in an interview with the Second Amendment Foundation that, quote, "I am extremely patriotic. My whole life has been that way. I am still proud to be an American, proud of our flag, and proud to be in this country. I have always had a strong desire to succeed." And if the ATF can do this to someone who's seemingly an outstanding citizen, they can do it to anybody, including you and me. Now, here's where the hopium comes in. A potential President Trump pardon. You see, this happened when Joe Biden was in office, and Tate was not going to get pardoned by Joe Biden. Let's call it like it is. But his case has caught the attention of 2A advocates, including myself, pushing for President Trump's clemency on this case. Trump needs to pardon Tate and reinstate him to the Navy as soon as possible. Most notably because the items he was arrested and sentenced to 20 years in prison for are still sold legally online right now. You can go check it. Tate himself said from prison, quote, "I did nothing wrong. I would have never been arrested if Trump was in office. I want a pardon to get my rights back." It would be great and probably very helpful if someone on Trump's team, like JD Vance, who I know is into firearms, or maybe his sons as well, could brief him for a swift pardon. So JD Vance or Donald Trump Jr., if you are listening, talk to your dad and let's get this kid back his freedoms. Tate's case fits Trump's pattern of correcting weaponized Department of Justice injustices. It's the right thing to do for a sailor who served his country. As of July 2025, Tate's at a federal correctional facility in Fort Dix here in New Jersey. But the 2A community is rallying behind him. Tate and his team are pursuing appeals and clemency, citing the ATF's lies that we just went over. But other than waiting around for President Trump to hopefully pardon him, what can you and I do to help Tate? Well, first, the fundraiser that they have on Give, Send, Go, which you can find on freedomfortate.org, has already raised over $20,000. If you want to donate to help his legal case, definitely recommend giving some money that way. The link is in the description box down below. Also, our friends at the New Jersey Firearm Owners Syndicate have joined the cause and are leading the charge here in New Jersey, gathering petition signatures for President Trump to consider a pardon. Now, they've had events in the past at my local range at Gun for Hire in Woodland Park. They're having one coming up in Pennsylvania. For more information about petition signing events that they will have, go to their website. I'll put a link in the description box for that down below as well. They will be at an early vote action table where you can sign up on a petition as well as register to vote, because we all need to take these things into account while voting here in November of this year, as well as into the future. You can also share Tate's story and his struggle and his case by sharing this video. The more people that know about it and make a stink about it, the better off. And I will be keeping you guys up to date on any updates here, as I will start following this very closely. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please share this video and get out the word of Tate's case to as many people as we possibly can. And if you're able, please donate to his cause as well. Let me know what you think about Tate's case and Tate's story. What do you think about it? And do you have any similar experiences that Tate has had? I sure hope not, but I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in, and I will see you next time.